Good morning, everybody. This is Mike Brennan here at the National Hurricane Center. It's around 11:20 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time on Friday, coming on this morning to give you an update on our area of low pressure off the southeast coast of the United States. We can see here on satellite imagery, this is potential tropical cyclone 16. You can see the center becoming better defined here to the south of the coast of North Carolina, east of Charleston. Large area of cloudiness, showers, thunderstorm activity, tropical storm force winds extending well north of the center, starting to affect portions of the coast of North Carolina. Right now, the center of this system is centered about 200 miles to the south of Cape Hatteras. And if we look here at the radar imagery, you can see the moderate to heavy rainfall moving across portions of the North Carolina Outer Banks, Pamlico and Albemarle Sounds, approaching places like Wilmington, and starting to move into portions of the I-95 corridor in eastern North Carolina. So we're also seeing tropical storm conditions moving onshore of the North Carolina coast. We've seen gusts to tropical storm force at places like Cape Lookout, at the Diamond Shoals buoy just off the coast of North Carolina. So we're starting to see conditions deteriorate as we go through the morning, and that will continue into this afternoon and into tonight. The system right now has maximum sustained winds of about 45 miles per hour. It's moving off toward the north at about 12 miles per hour, and the center of this system is going to move onshore of the coast of North Carolina early Saturday, and then move inland over eastern North Carolina and southeastern Virginia as we go through the weekend and up near or just to the west side of the Chesapeake Bay through the day on Sunday. The important thing to note is the impacts are going to extend well away from the center, hundreds of miles. The tropical storm force winds right now extend almost 200 to almost 300 miles to the north of the center, as you can see here in the orange. And so regardless of the exact track of the center, we're going to see widespread tropical storm force winds, storm surge impacts, heavy rainfall, and the potential for flooding, and also the potential for some tornadoes across portions of eastern North Carolina and Virginia over the next day or two. And we'll go through those hazards here specifically, starting with the tropical storm force winds. We have a tropical storm warning in effect from Cape Fear, North Carolina, across the rest of the Outer Banks, Pamlico, Albemarle Sounds, up through much of the Chesapeake Bay, portions of the Delmarva Peninsula. Everyone in these areas should be expecting to see tropical storm force sustained winds. We could see the system strengthen up to about 60 to 65 miles per hour in terms of its intensity before making landfall. So where that core does come on shore, those stronger winds could certainly affect portions of the North Carolina coast, especially the Outer Banks, south of Cape Hatteras, towards areas like Morehead City and down into that region there. If we look at the inland extent of the tropical storm warnings, everywhere you see here in blue extending westward into the I-95 corridor in eastern North Carolina, then along and on either side of the Chesapeake Bay, places like Hampton Roads, Norfolk, Williamsburg, up to Chincoteague, Ocean City. There is the potential for strong winds farther north. Those are being handled by wind advisories and up into northern Maryland, Delaware, and into New Jersey as well. On the storm surge front, we have a storm surge warning in effect for much of the coast of North Carolina, southeastern Virginia, Chesapeake Bay, everywhere you see in the dark purple here. And we're expecting widespread storm surge inundation of 2 to 4 feet above ground level from Surf City, North Carolina, up to Chincoteague, Virginia, including the Pamlico, Albemarle Sounds, lower Chesapeake Bay, portions of the lower tidal Potomac River as well. We're most concerned about these areas here on the west side of the Pamlico Sound, the Neuse and Bay Rivers, places like New Bern, the Pamlico and Pungo Rivers. We could see inundation of 3 to 5 feet above ground level. So that's water almost potentially up to as tall as I am. So this is in those areas in particular, we're concerned about that potential for life-threatening inundation. So if you live in a storm surge evacuation zone anywhere in these areas and you've been asked to leave by your local officials, please heed that advice. But again, this storm surge is going to occur over multiple high tide cycles starting from this afternoon all the way through tonight and into tomorrow as we move northward up into the Chesapeake Bay region. Outside of the storm surge warning area, we do have the potential for coastal flooding and inundation of 1 to 3 feet above ground level, places along Delaware Bay, portions of the Jersey Shore, and also farther south into portions of northern South Carolina, southeastern North Carolina. On the rainfall side, you can already see the rainfall we showed on the radar moving inland across portions of North Carolina. That rain is going to spread northward. We have the potential for 3 to 5 inches of rain widespread across eastern North Carolina and southeastern Virginia, with the potential for some isolated totals as high as 7 inches, and then wider totals of 2 to 4 inches across much of the rest of the coastal mid-Atlantic states, even up into southern New England by the time we get later into the weekend. Essentially, the I-95 corridor eastward is going to see the heaviest rainfall with this system, although with some lighter rain will spread it back west into portions of central North Carolina, even central Virginia, and up into portions of the mid-Atlantic states. In terms of the potential for rainfall flooding, we're most concerned today about this area here near Morehead City up into the Pamlico Sound region, where we could have very heavy rainfall in combination with the storm surge could create a lot of flooding, both from the sounds and from the rainfall. So be on the lookout for potential for flood warnings in those areas. A broader risk of at least isolated to scattered flash flood potential across much of eastern North Carolina, southeastern Virginia, into the Delmarva Peninsula as we go through today and tonight. And that flash flood risk will spread northward up into the mid-Atlantic states, the Philadelphia, New York City metro areas during the day on Saturday. There's also the risk for tornadoes, most concentrated today across eastern North Carolina, Tidewater, Hampton Roads area, Virginia. So be on the lookout for the potential for tornado watches or warnings to be issued later today as some of those rain bands associated with this low move onshore. So again, multiple hazards associated with this potential tropical cyclone. We're expecting it to become a tropical storm as soon as later this afternoon or this evening. But again, regardless of what we're calling it, the impacts are going to be much the same, widespread impacts from tropical storm force winds, storm surge, heavy rainfall and flooding across much of coastal North Carolina, much of the Chesapeake Bay region as we go through the day today and well into Saturday. So stay tuned for more information on this system from here at the National Hurricane Center. You can go to hurricanes.gov. You can find your local National Weather Service office at weather.gov, and we'll be back with more updates on this system later today. I'm Mike Brennan here at the National Hurricane Center.